Hi, this is Jundo. Welcome to Tree Leaf, and our subject today is right mindfulness, a vital part of the Eightfold Path. But that word mindfulness gets bandied about in Buddhism very much, and it actually has a few different meanings that can be confusing. Sometimes it means to do one act, just to do one act. When you drink tea, just drink tea. When walking, just walking. Well, that's not the sense of mindfulness I want us to talk about today, though I've spoken about that other times. The sense of mindfulness today is about understanding the mind, which, by the way, is not only inside us, but in many Buddhist teachings is outside and all around us. There is no separation between inside and outside. The inside forms the outside flows into the inside, and it's all one. Let me explain what I mean. This fellow you probably recognize. This is the Buddha. Actually, this is his head, and his eyes and his ears, where data would come in from the outside world, and I assume up here would get reformulated into the way that a Buddha will experience the world, just like with us. Well, the Buddha pointed out that what happens in that process creates our experience of the world. In fact, in some teachings, it creates the world, but I don't want to get into that. Let's just say that what happens here creates so much more of our experience of the world than we may realize. See, this fellow here is sometimes described as a philosopher, but also a psychologist. Buddhist teachings are about understanding how the mind works, how we create reality, literally create reality. Sometimes I describe what's going on up here as like the holodeck on the Starship Enterprise. Remember that, where they could create any reality they wished? Well, you think you're experiencing the room around you right now. All you're seeing is an incredible recreation, an interpretation up here. The data flows in, and you think you're seeing something. You think you're seeing me right now, or you're seeing the wall behind your desk or your computer, whatever you're looking at, but it's all up here. Well, the Buddha realized that we then go ahead with that process and add things like categories, names, judgments, worries, fears, all from this sense data that comes in, and we create our experience of this world. Mindfulness is becoming mindful of this process of the mind, so that you learn to recognize it as it's happening. Now, I'm going to say that this is an important part of Buddhist teachings right from the beginning, to understand this process of how the mind creates, interprets, adds a lot of garbage to our experience of reality. And it's part of the vipassana part of Buddhist practice. Our practice is always about insight, mindfulness and insight into the workings of the mind, as well as sitting zazen. As a matter of fact, zazen should contribute to your insights, but that's a subject for another day. These all go hand in hand. To be mindful means that in any situation you are mindful of what the mind is doing. Sometimes I describe it as a big theater up here, where you or yourself is creating scenes and interpretations. It could be comedy, it can be drama. You have to become mindful and have insight into the theater that you have running up here between your ears. For example, if anger arises, you start to recognize anger, the trigger of anger, the process by which it's arising, what happens then. A lot of people, when they're feeling angry, they think the anger is real. They fall into the anger. They're really angry. Buddhists can step back. It's not always easy, even for Buddhists, but you can step back and realize, not just, I'm angry, but temporarily my mind theater is creating on the holodeck the experience of anger, and it's going along this course. And if I want to, this is the Buddhist part, perhaps I can blow it away, drop it, as we drop things in shikantaza. So all the human emotions and thoughts are just this great theater, and we learn to be mindful of it, recognize it, and steer it in helpful directions. And looking out into the world, we see other people's behavior and circumstances. That guy's acting greedy, that guy's acting angry, that guy's creating his own mind theater out of ignorance. And we realize this, and we realize that it's a two-way street. We create the world, our experience of the world on the holodeck, and other people are acting in ways that the Buddha taught of greed, anger, and ignorance. And we become mindful of all this. Okay? That, in a nutshell, is my interpretation of Dr. Buddha's great psychology. Shall we sit with that?